YouTube. Apologies for absence, John.
Yes, apologies for absence received by Councillor Mike Cole. Deputising for Councillor Mike Cole is Councillor Pike, and apologies from Councillor Suzanne Admantos, deputising Councillor Batos. Thank you.
And from Councillor Brooks.
Councillor Brooks, thank you.
I think we have everybody else. Okay, declarations of interest. Councillor.
As the owner of Picture It Framed, I declare interest in definitely the Summertown Centre event, probably Family Fun Day too.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Do I need to declare I'm a member of the Royal British Legion for the item on the wherever it is?
I don't think
Yes.
certainly not a commercial interest anyway, is it? I think you're probably okay there. Okay, thank you. Moving on to take as read and confirm as accurate the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of November. So this isn't the working party, this is the previous full events committee meeting. Councillor Shiverhart.
I'd like to propose those meetings as accurate.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Does anybody want a moment to?
Yes, I second
You
it.
second that? All those in favour? Thank you very much. Yeah, for the events manager to provide and members to request feedback on any matters arising therefrom. As I say, we've got a number coming from the working party in item 6, but this is specifically for the full meeting.
Nothing from myself, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the budget review then. Able to throw that up.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Okay, so anything you want to highlight there, John, or should we just move through and give councillors a chance to?
I mean, the only thing to put in is that in all the events, you'll note that the sponsorship income, so for example, first up, the third line down 1052, you'll notice adopted by full counts is 750, and yet the previous year we obtained substantially more sponsorship, and that case applies the whole way down. But the rationale behind that is you can never guarantee sponsorship, so we've deliberately done that, but we're very confident in terms of for example, ticket income. We have a figure that's 3,000. You can see last year we obtained more. We're absolutely confident that we'll hit that total income because the event ticket income is much more of a guarantee that we'll hit that sum. So I just wanted to bring that to members' attention. And you can see the same Christmas item 122, sponsorship income. It's set at 1,500, but we're confident in that event that storeholder fees will be more than that. There's also an item which we'd like to discuss when it's considered in terms of the Christmas programme. So I'd like to cover that then in terms of why we think storeholder fees will probably be greater than £500.
We're covering that up under item 10, I guess. Yeah, okay.
That's the only thing I'd like to just bring to members' attention.
Okay, thank you. And obviously the budget figures have gone in from the full council on the 29th of January now. Do you want to just sort of slowly scroll through then and give councillors the opportunity to ask questions? Councillor Stevenson. Oh. No, you don't. No. In fact.
Yes, I'd just like to ask about hire charges. So we've got for some events some pretty big sums for equipment hire. Am I right in thinking that is often sound equipment for voices?
Yeah, Councillor Stevenson, equipment hire specifically on Thatcham Festival, one of the major items is the stage bus, the Festoff, which is the expensive item there. If that was the.
Yes, so have we ever considered owning our own of a better quality? I know we, in the past, have had pretty poor equipment. With all this investment in hiring for these events, might it not be worth investing in owning? Or is that not the case?
We have, Councillor Stevenson, we have purchased some stage blocks, and that works when we put on an event. I don't know whether you attended Festoff, but we had two stages.
Yes.
We had a stage at the bottom, which was more the open mic, but the higher end of a stage bus, I would suggest that it would be a very expensive operation to hire that particular stage bus. The only way we could commercially make it work is if we purchased it and started in a business, hiring it out to other organisations and maintaining it. And I would say that is a
Councillor
part.
Pike.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. As I also say, as somebody who does actually own a substantial amount of lighting and sound equipment, I think what we've got is roughly what is possible to use without special expertise knowledge. So that sort of stuff that you're talking about requires an operator to come with it, and then if you separate the two, that becomes very difficult. So I think the balance that we've got is about the right balance between owning the stuff that is self-operated and hiring in the stuff that requires someone with expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you
for that. Thank you.
Okay, any more on the page? Let's move on a bit.
Sorry, if I could bring one other thing to members' attention. There's some pretty big numbers in terms of, you look at 1, 2, 3 Remembrance Day and traffic management, as there are in 4,750, as there are in, for example, Christmas, and again, traffic management. You can see the budget is £2,000. So what we have already done is gone out to traffic management companies to get the most competitive quotes we can for this year. And we believe, and we have those costs in, and they're below the figures that have been set within our budgets. It really makes sense to try and get those quotes in well before the new financial year, just because of the costs of traffic escalating and people, suppliers being unsure of petrol prices, etc., and so on, signage costs, etc.
Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you for that indication. What does it come in at? What the quotes come back at? Because you gave us the information.
Yes.
Number.
So the Christmas one, the budget is 2,000.
Approximate is good enough.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
It's like 150 £150 less. So you're not talking massive amounts.
5 and 10%.
5-10%.
Yeah, saving.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's
Okay.
good. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, all good, yeah. So all on.
Family Fun Day. The new event, which is listed as on the Broadway, but later on you can kind of see the name we're giving it is called Kids Fest. We can talk about that later. And special event is in fact the rural touring scheme. Yeah, and that's
it. Okay, thank you. Any more questions on the budget?
Heritage Working
You
Party.
okay? Yeah.
Yep.
Item 5 then, Heritage Working Party to receive and consider adoption of the minutes of the Heritage Working Party. Which I'm happy to propose. Do I have a seconder for that?
I would second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. So moving on to the Events Working Party, which wasn't so long ago, just to receive and consider adoption of the minutes from the 23rd of January.
I would just like to add a point which should have been put in here as an item 6.
Yeah.
And it is contained in the detailed report, and it's to do with the community events. We asked councillor Mike Cole if he'd put some wording together for community events, which I wouldn't mind discussing now, if that's okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What it was.
I think councillor Cole did draft something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So councillor Cole, Thatcham Town, his quote, Thatcham Town Council are keen to encourage an increasing diversity of activities and events within the town, as well as supporting our sports clubs and to facilitate them to hold events for their own fundraising activities. We know that putting on events such as a beer or cider festival and other activities can be a risk due to weather and many other factors. And to that end, have devised a scheme to underwrite the financial risk to an agreed amount to enable clubs to plan with confidence, provided that it is an event available to all local residents. So that's the wording. He goes on to qualify. I don't envisage this being widely promulgated. My understanding that promoted, but letters going to selected organisations with a last paragraph asking if they are interested in a meeting to discuss. Yeah, so for the committee to consider that.
Thank you. Yes. Anybody have any comments on that? I think obviously these would be taken on their merits, but the mechanism is there. Should clubs have the desire to run community events, they would at least have some underlying support, as in fact Thatcham 10K has had from the council to just give them a little bit of reassurance. Okay. Yeah, Councillor McCann.
Thank you. I take the process for any bids would come through the Events Working Party or go straight to committee. Because currently we don't have a budget heading for that at the moment, and then bounce it to F&PG. So how do we envisage? It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Process.
What is the mechanism? Yeah.
That's all I was just bringing up. We won't resolve it this evening, but I think we just have to have a little think about what the process and mechanism could be.
So I guess it could either go to the Events Working Party or direct to the Events Committee. We would propose it, and then F&GP would have to rubber stamp it from a financial perspective. I think that would be the process, wouldn't?
I'd be happy, but it's for members to decide. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
A separate comment.
okay. Well, let's just cover that one off. And I think that would work as a process. Is it?
I think it would do.
Yeah.
If we don't want to set hares running and we can't fulfil that expectation, but I think if we know what the process is roughly is, we can be flexible enough to make it
I
work.
guess that would roughly be the process, unless the town clerk wanted to refine it at all, hasn't he? So is this about that one, Stephanie, or is it? Yeah.
It's because I thought the process must have been agreed, because we've already underwritten councillor Schiefer's Hart's 10K run in the same fashion. So the process must be agreed somewhere.
Okay, well, yes, okay.
Councillor Stevenson, that was a one-off specific proposal with regard to the 10K, which needed to be cleared very quickly. But within that same kind of dynamic later on, there was a consideration of other sporting events and community events.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if you could confirm, John, if we have a process already documented, or if not, then we just need to confirm that with
I don't think there is a process already documented for what Councillor Cole.
all right, then, well, sure, I'll suggest then that it comes to the events committee rather than the working party, and that we we agree it there and then refer it to F&GP.
Okay.
Okay, I'll propose that then. Do I have a
Make another
second?
comment.
Yeah, okay,
So my comment was about the definition of community.
right,
So I would suggest, my initial thought is that the two sort of qualifications. The first one is that the event takes place within Thatcham. And the second one is that there is a significant or perhaps a substantial participation from residents of Thatcham, but not necessarily exclusively. But I think that's just so that people know
that it is
and
properly
that
local.
officers can respond to inquiries before it comes to a full meeting.
Yeah,
Absolutely, councillor Schiffman.
and just to give some reassurance, the average radius of people taking place is 2.53 miles.
Mm.
And
Very good.
someone in Derbyshire and London and Cornwall, but the average is literally, the heat map is Thatcham.
That is good, that's good, good to hear, definitely. Okay, thank you. So should we just go back to those, item B then, the key points arising?
Can I just
Sorry.
double check, Chairman? So are we agreeing on with the comments that Councillor Pike mentioned and the process that Councillor McCann mentioned? Are we agreeing
So
with
we're,
that with those changes?
okay,
Or
so
do you want me to make those?
should we put this to the vote just to confirm it? So in terms of a process, the request comes to the full events committee, who make a decision and then refer it from a financial perspective to F&GP. And yeah, I think we should include the wording that the activity is either in Thatcham or primarily involving people from the immediate locality.
Yep, yep. So we're happy with that.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
if I propose that, can I get a seconder? Yeah, all those in favour?
Thank you very much.
I think we're aligned on that one. That's good.
Where are we now?
So just going back to the start of point B there, the first one was D-Day. I think the working party, John asked you to do a little bit more digging about the possible events that might be running on that day or things that we could be doing.
Okay, so D-Day 80, just to refresh members, is happening on 6th of June, 2024. We spoke to RBL Thatcham and asked what their position and what they would like to do. And they have said they would like to hold a service at the Thatcham Memorial Gardens, followed by refreshments in this council chamber at 11 o'clock. That's currently, an email's been sent from me to the Thatcham Memorial Foundation, care of Mr. Nathan Gregory, to see whether he is happy for the foundation to allow that service to happen. And again, just to say that there is a service of that type happening in many towns across the country at 11 o'clock. The proposal too is options really. Newbury Council have decided they are not doing a service in Newbury on that day, but they will be, this is my understanding, they will be doing their service at 11 o'clock at Greenham Control Tower. And they will be running shuttle buses up to the control tower. So that's in association with RBL Newbury and Newbury Council. And in addition, in the evening, they are doing the same and running shuttle buses with Newbury RBL personnel up to the Greenham Control Tower, who are planning to do a special lighting up of the control tower. RBL Thatcham are aware of this and are aware of this before making their decision that they want to do something within Thatcham at 11 o'clock. The other the proposal that I would put to members is that we allow RBL to have a service at 11 o'clock at Thatcham Memorial Gardens, providing we get permission from the Memorial Foundation. And then I think we have two options in the evening, which could be an and an or. We have our own beacon lighting at 9:15 within Thatcham, venue to be confirmed, but happy to discuss. I've got a couple of ideas, but would like your feedback on that. Or we also then work with Greenham Control Tower to encourage residents to go up to Greenham Control Tower, which could be an and or. We could still do our beacon lighting and promote the fact that there's activity also happening at Control Tower. Yeah, that's it. If people understand, sorry.
Thanks for that. No, I mean, I think that's, at the working party, we were a little bit undecided as to which of those options to go for. I don't know that we've been formally invited by the Greenham group to take part in that, have we? So we'd probably need to invite ourselves along to it, which is probably fine. But I don't think we've been formally invited to it so far, have we?
So the control tower said that they would be happy to, there seems to be quite a few bureaucratic layers to it, because I think Newbury Council have been working with the control tower for some time now. And they are considering what, I don't think there would be any issues with us promoting the fact that there is a lighting service happening at the control tower at 9:15 in the evening. They would be glad to bring people from Thatcham, but they're still considering the idea of if we then were laying on buses and how that organisationally might work. Of course, if we do our own beacon lighting, then no, it's just ourselves giving permission to ourselves.
Any thoughts on this? Any views on what we should do that year?
So I think that the control tower in the Greenham Common has a particular significance for D-Day. And of course, it is Greenham and Crookham Common, though and Crookham Common is part of Thatcham, although the control tower is in fact just inside. I think Greenham Parish Council is also involved in this.
It is indeed.
So if you're talking about a location with similar residents in Thatcham, it would be Urquhart Road, which doesn't have quite the same feel about it. No. So I would say, apart from the comment that I heard Councillor Watts say about providing transport from Thatcham, is there's the inevitable problem of the level crossing.
Well, we may never get there.
We might have to run the buses, have a bus that runs to the station, another bus that runs from the station, so that people can walk over the bridge.
Oh, yeah, they can walk over the bridge, yeah.
Councillor Stevenson.
My inclination would be, I love the idea of the 11 a.m. service, but then I would. But to be honest, I think in the evening, I think I'd rather go up to Greenham Control Tower for the significant reasons that you mentioned, and not to split our residents between us and that, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yes, yes, I can see that could be an issue that we might get accused of pulling people away from a big event. Councillor Lunn.
I'd just like to agree with what Stephanie said there. We mentioned to do something locally in Thatcham at the working party, that it would be just a beacon lighting. And previously there has been events like that where there's been fireworks and things. So if people were to come along to a beacon lighting thinking it was going to be more than that, and discovering it's just the beacon lighting, they might feel a bit duped and wish they'd gone to the true Greenham Common.
Yeah.
I wonder if while promoting that, we might have a formal ceremony with just a small number of people to light the beacon, so that there is a beacon within Thatcham, but do it simultaneously, perhaps have sort of synchronization, but I think I certainly agree that I think the thing that's promoted for the general public ought to be Greenham, but we might want to do something to sort of link between the beacon. I assume there's a beacon lighting at Greenham, that you could sort of have the thing something synchronized here just for the cameras and for people who can't make it.
Can I just ask a question with regards to parking at Greenham?
Not a lot of it.
I think that's the reason why they are proposing to run shuttle bus services from somewhere in Newbury, because it is to Green Control Tower. So I think that's part of the reason, because there is a restricted number of parking spaces.
And we would do likewise. I guess we would run shuttle buses as well if we took part in that.
We could investigate that certainly,
But we've got
and try not to get stuck.
If Newbury haven't already booked them all, which is quite.
What's the cost of doing Beacon here? Because I know there's a big brochure and I know, but what is the cost? Because if we would,
We haven't put any costs together, but it doesn't cost too much. There's a sum of £1,000 that's been set aside by the F&GP capital projects as a special.
we've already got the beacon itself, we just need the gas.
Exactly.
We've already got it, so I
Yes,
don't.
so we own the
Yeah.
beacon, and it's just that.
Yeah, the one at Dunstan. Oh, just think about one thing about if the club, football club, which isn't council, but they would allow people to meet there if they were able to walk across and then have the shuttle from there.
Sorry.
I'm just
That
thinking,
sounds a good.
It does. There's a lot of parking space there, isn't there?
I'm just thinking if people can get there, we don't have to worry and you go across and down. The only thing they've got to do is get across for the barriers or go over the bridge, but then they're there at the football club. I think, given that we've got a relationship with them anyway, that may be a possibility.
That's an interesting option, yeah, because people could walk there from the town as well.
The oldies won't get across the bridge, it's horrible, that bridge.
No, but what I mean is, so you've got more chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I suggest we leave the detailed planning to the events manager about bookings of and the timings of buses and stuff, but try to find out options to minimise parking at the minimise parking at the control tower and minimise the risk of people not arriving because of the level crossing.
Yeah, so I mean, basically it feels as if the mood of the meeting is that we should take part in the Greenham event. So the next step really is to liaise with them. I'm quite happy to, if you want a note to come from the council, then I'm quite happy to do that. And then we look at the practicalities of how we would actually get people there.
Okay, just so that I'm clear, we agree that to support the RBL request.
Yes.
To do a service at 11 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And teas and coffees in here.
Yeah.
And we support and work with the Control Tower and Greenham Parish Council to support that. How about the only other thing is the beacon? Do we run with that? Yes or no within Thatcham? Councillor Pike.
I might thought it's find out what's happening at Greenham. Now, if there's a screen, you might even want to link the two together. So you look at that offline. I think the point is, I'd say that if we do one here, it's either as a formality with the mayor lighting it or whatever, but it's not the main. It's very clearly a subsidiary event within the parish rather than a competing event.
My only concern about that is I feel we've kind of either got to put our energy behind one or the other, because if we did a very small scale one here, people might look at it and think, well, that's a bit pathetic. Whereas we were just trying to keep everyone happy.
If they've got video screens up at Greenham, we might investigate actually video linking it in so that it was part of the event. But that's a sort. But I think it would be a formality here rather than an event, as it were.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Okay, I mean, are you happy to explore that one, John? But we're essentially, I think, giving our support to Greenham as the main option in the evening, and certainly supporting the Royal British Legion in the morning.
Okay, so I'll work on that and then come back to either the events committee or the events working party for a final decision on what we do with the beacon lighting
Yeah,
and the nuts and bolts of how we work together.
yeah, if that's what.
Yeah, or can we take that off?
We can take that offline if you want. Yeah, I mean,
So that's
Uh,
what
we-
I'm
we
going to
can-
ask. Do you need a proposal?
we can send an email. Yeah, okay. Do you want to put that into?
Well, I just wonder if you need a proposal, because it just says planning and allocation for this event requires confirmation. So do we as a committee need to propose what you've just said?
Confirm it.
Okay, yeah, okay, so, I mean, I can put it into words if you like, so, we support the,
RBL?
the proposal of the RBL for a service at the Memorial Gardens at 11 o'clock. Subject to the agreement of the Memorial Foundation, of course. And we will investigate joining in the activities and celebrations at Greenham Control Tower with Thatcham, with Newbury Town Council, and to explore the ferrying options for the evening, and potentially to look into lighting a small scale beacon in Thatcham. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, right.
Does that cover it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think what I'd like to add on is that subject to what we find is an agreement, because it's going to be June. I don't know when is the next events committee?
Yeah, it's going to be too late, I think,
Yeah.
to start making plans at that point.
So if the committee are happy to allow a decision based on that to
Yeah.
be made between councillor Lillycrop then,
Yes.
and events officers, would that be okay?
Yeah.
In terms of-
Are you happy for us to
I agree to
take that away? If there are any sort of major issues, we'll circulate an email and yeah, I think the most contentious bit is probably whether we have our own beacon if we do take part in the Greenham events.
And I thought the transport is quite important.
The transport, yes, I like the idea potentially of doing it from the football club if that works, because that would give us the parking option.
Yeah.
That's avoid.
Sorry, I was just going to say regarding the, us taking part in the Greenham event or arranging for transportation, that's obviously going to come at a cost, because whilst Newbury might be happy to pay for all the buses to go there, they're not going to turn around and say, well, you want some as well, Thatcham? Certainly, we'll send them over. Yeah, we're going to have to put up the funds for that. So that may be a consideration.
I'll do
Do we have
tax.
anything in the budget yet? For
Yes, there's a budget of £1,000 overall. The F&GP have put aside for this. In terms of, I haven't investigated any buses
So charge.
at the moment until
Charge.
we decided what we wanted to do.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. We need,
Nominal fee, charge people.
A donation to the RBL.
Yeah, that's.
That's fair enough.
Right, whatever, no.
There's lots of ways of skinning the cat.
yeah.
Donations to town council.
I'm happy, thank you.
Okay, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Right, all right then. Moving on, the working party also received a brief report from councillor Schiffer Hart on the 10K. But I feel that all going according to plan probably doesn't do it justice at this stage. Do you want to give us a little bit of an update?
Summary or something.
Yes, we are less than 100 entries left, those watching on YouTube, which by the time you see it will probably be less than 80. And we officially got papers through for the CIC this week. We got it approved last week, so that's great. And yeah, it's good. I ran quite a lot of the route. There are still a few bits But it's fine, you have to test the things out, don't you? But it's good. And we're making sure we've got contingencies to even take it off the road at the very start, because that way it will reduce the cost, it'll keep it safe. And the one thing we just got to do is plan our race village. But the safety advisory group, SAG group, have had the initial form, just need to follow up with the actual meeting, etc. So we're good.
Excellent. And no major stumbling blocks. So.
No. And Councillor Pemberton's have been very, very helpful as well. And so we've got a really good, strong committee where people chip in and actually do jobs for us.
Great stuff. Good.
Is there-
Thank you for that. Councillor Stevenson.
When and how can I volunteer, say, to help? But do I need training to be allowed to help?
No, okay, so good question. I will be sending out an email on behalf of Chris Turner, who is going to be the coordinator. He's already got Powell's, West Berkshire, etc. and people details. And what I'll do is he's just making this, no training, literally to be a marshal, you're just making sure he'll give a brief, obviously, and say, what we need to do, especially if it's along the canal, if it's on the last part of the road, so coming up from the big mound on the moors, because then that's where it goes onto pavement, and it's got the cars running alongside. But then it's so stretched out, it's a bit like the end of the Santa run where people are, 5 minutes apart type thing, until it gets the big group of walkers. But we're trying to get line of sight. So if there's an issue anywhere on the course, we want to make sure we can see someone. Because if someone falls and you can't see them, and then you get someone going, there's someone that's fallen, you literally want, that. So but no, that's great. There will be a call to arms. All right. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you. Any
But
other?
the t-shirts go on sale.
There will be t-shirts for it if you run it. Unfortunately, there will be some extra, but I think that's good.
Not for the marshals, can I?
Oh, it's gonna have a special one for the marshals. I think it's gone quiet.
Any more on that one?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Music survey, which hot off the press, we were discussing that only at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Wow.
Did you want to say any more on that?
No, we had a very constructive, yes. Just a real quick progress update. So we had a very good meeting with Berkshire Music Trust today. Berkshire Music Trust used to be Berkshire Maestros. They are very keen to be involved and are coming up with a whole series of costed out proposals in terms of taking that report forward. They fully understand and are in agreement with the report in terms of the dynamics that a lot of young people, the two major criteria are to do with cost and location. So that needs consideration. And then the third criteria is obviously the type of music activity that will be accessible for young people. So that's all within the report. So they're now going to come up with some costed proposals. In terms of the funding for that, there's a lot of different funding streams, which we would have to potentially apply for because Berkshire Music Trust can't. But they have also experience in terms of funding and getting funding support. So we're very confident that the first stages have been developed.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, a reasonable summary of that.
Yeah, that's a good summary. I think
where we're at.
Yeah, it was very positive and encouraging meeting, and I think it's so a little while since the survey was done, and it's kind of taking it on to the next level. And I think the Music Trust will make a very good partnership with us in encouraging activities in the musical activities in the community for young people and getting to the kind of people that wouldn't necessarily be going for music lessons normally. Councillor Can.
Yeah, would this be something that they might consider applying for the underwriting of the events? That be something that would fall into that sort of category? Or is this more of an annual budgeting because there's two separate ways of looking at it.
My understanding is there has been a sum that's been set aside for this, for the development of this, but the financial amount that would be needed to can vary. The full music program that was proposed in the report came up to the figure of about 15, I think it was 15K. So what we're hoping is that with being able to develop the 2.5K, I think that's been set aside, not within the events budget, but I think within the youth budget. And I might need to get further sort of understanding of that. That's my understanding, that we can then levy a lot further money through a Trailblazer fund, which is run by the Youth Works, a application to the Green and Common,
That's still got money.
and various other applications. So that's the bit that we need to sort of still define once we've received the proposal from Berkshire Music Trust.
Just to clarify, and is this likely to be an annual cost? Because the implications are different. It's not saying you wouldn't do it.
No, I'm not sure. I mean, my way of looking at it was, let's just make a success of the pilot projects and this, and then evaluate it afterwards. But
yeah,
I would hope that it would be something that we could continue to run if successful.
and then that would make it eligible for the bidding process for if they would like us to act as some sort of guarantee for events should they. Enough is that.
No, because they're not a community organisation. Berkshire Music Trust are employed.
Oh, I thought they were a trust as a.
They're a music education charity
Okay.
that run through the whole of West Berkshire.
Yeah.
Slough, Maiden, so 5 different areas so they're,
Yeah, they go to my school.
they work within schools, and they also have a hub to develop things outside of schools. And they're funded by the department, they're partly funded, including in Thatcham in some areas, by the DF funding, Department of Education.
DFE,
And Arts Council as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Their hub is at St Bart's in Newbury, but they go into schools locally. The idea of this is sort of kind of trying to bring it out a little bit more into the community and away from the end of lesson sessions within schools to reach a different young audience, I think.
Thank you.
That's very good.
I assume this is not intended to be self-funding. In other words, that it's not being paid for by the participants, and therefore it's not something you would be giving a guarantee against, because you're not expecting income from, you're not expecting variable income, as it were, which is what the guarantee is intended for. Rather, you set up a program and you get the grants in advance, and you know the budget balance before it takes place.
It's precisely that,
Yeah, and I think how much it can achieve, it depends on how much can be raised through these various channels. But I think it probably is quite an attractive proposition for the fund providers.
Cool.
Okay, thanks for that. The Rural Touring Theatre Scheme, Emily gave us a good update on that at the working party, but I think we have a number of events lined up as part of that scheme, and we have the budget allocation now confirmed through full council. Any questions on that one at all?
What are the likely venues for performances?
That's the point, yeah.
It's kind of part of other events, isn't it, like the festival and so on?
There's an Easter one that's planned.
What locations are you planning to the performance to take place in?
I think we're looking at a number of different venues, including Hutchins, Parish Hall. So the idea is to take it to different locations and not just put it in one particular location, so the different wards, if you like, have an opportunity. of attending. So Frank Hutch is one.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't have the document in front of me, but yeah, local halls.
What's the Memorial Hall? You got the Memorial Hall, you got the one down by Moors.
Sorry,
But that was one.
Yeah.
So that's the intention, is to spread it around in terms of, so it's accessible to different parts of our community.
Cool. Oh, good.
And the companies that come in are fully self-contained. They provide all of the technical support.
Yes.
The venue.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all
they're-
part of,
I'm very used to doing events like this.
it's all through one agency called Applause, so they've already done that groundwork in terms of companies applying to them, and they've said, you need to be technically part of the package. You need to be able to go into these venues and perform and present your product. Quite exciting, really.
Sorry, councillor.
When we think of venues, may I ask everybody to remember Moorside? I know it belongs to West Berkshire Council. What are you saying? The thing is, it is a massive underused building with a mugger right next door, which is of course a multi-use games area. It's a huge amount of space and we mustn't forget it's there, please.
Right,
I think that's what.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Not sure if it has seating. I'm not sure if it has seating for an audience.
It's got chairs, but
Enough for an audience.
We used it as a polling station.
Yeah, that's different from
I know it's not quite the same, I know, but-
It's 120, which is probably what it would take. But yeah.
may I just suggest then perhaps that, have you ever been there, John?
Yes, I have. I met up with Thatcham Youth and looked at their facilities.
So you know that what's there. Otherwise, do go and have a look. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's where I've just come from. The Rainbows meet there every Monday.
Sports hall's the bigger hall.
It's got a big sports hall.
It's where I met the Rainbows.
We did a project there during lockdown, which was the Visions of Recovery, and a Christmas project where we put stars in different locations. And Thatcham Youth were very keen to
I'm
have
just
one.
drawing the building to your attention.
Yeah, no, very good point, very good point. Does often get left out. Any more on the rural scheme? So, Kids Fest Thatcham. Is there anything on that? Councillor Lund, do you want to say anything?
Jay, Jay's in charge.
Okay. You may recall that members asked whether we could meet up with some of the town centre businesses to see their thoughts on holding a summer event. And we had a very successful meeting with a really good cross-section of businesses, both from the Broadway, the High Street, so Newbury Building Society, the Cook and Butcher, Howdens, Sweet Imagination, so a lovely cross-section. And a really good debate, kitchen design, in terms of what they thought should be happening. So all agreed that it should be the last, and we talked about the actual day, all agreed it should be the last day, which is a Thursday in August, the last Thursday in August. Interestingly, Howdens were very keen. We used Turnfields Park as a venue, which we have used before in Fun on the Broadway, and particularly for the youngest age groups because it's safe, grass, near play area, and Howdens also agreed to put in some funding to support that. So we have said we think that's a great idea. We'd love to do that. The Broadway would be a slightly older age group, or appeal to, and we would use both the Thatcham Broadway as well as where the cars are parked, and use that to create a bigger event. The third element, we would also like to use the High Street, so it becomes a substantially bigger festival than before. And the idea is that, in fact, we've already penciled in, not fully confirmed until we've met with your good selves, we've already penciled in for and got a quote for closing the High Street and for it to be traffic managed. The idea is that that would appeal to the slightly older age group and parents, and we would run a whole set of perhaps gift and stores and food stalls down the high street, very similar to the Festoff. So in effect, we're creating a new, much bigger event, which would also appeal to the high street
Yeah.
traders as well, and we'd try to get them involved. We wouldn't block like we've done in the Festoff and put a stage to block. We'd try and keep some flow so people can see, oh, there's something else happening down there, probably with music, so that people can hear something different is happening. But rather than a stage, maybe a samba band or something like that, that people can hear and you can move them around. So that is our proposal. We have already sent out early bird, are you interested, traders, in being involved, and have started to get a good response.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, so
This
that's
is
where
the
we're in, but
29th of August we're talking about.
yes.
Yeah.
that's the.
It really does seem like a win-win. I mean, to be able to support the businesses down the high street, which we've been trying to do for so long, and to do something more like the Festoff and extend it down there, I think is fantastic. Councillor Schifferhart.
So is this something potentially for those children looking to raise money for Borneo and when they go on their trips and stuff? Because they obviously did it in the Christmas period, but if they can stagger it, it means they're not having to they would end up competing at the same time, but they wouldn't have to just do it on one day. Then go, oh, we can actually do it now. The Festoff, we can do it here. Would that be the sort of children or not, or teenagers? Potentially.
I think I would need to double check whether I am sure we're very similar to Family Fun Day. There is a charity rate for charity stalls and for a commercial rate for commercial
I
stalls.
think kids from Kennet and Trinity would be like jumping all over it.
But I'm not sure who's been invited, so I'm going to make a note of Kennett's school and the organisation. What was for the Borneo relief?
Well, Borneo's this year, basically every 3 years, they just go somewhere else. And what it is that they have to raise a substantial amount of money to go on the trip themselves. I don't know if, and it's, yes, they go into Borneo this year, they go to somewhere else, Papua New Guinea, that sort of thing.
They were involved, they came to our Christmas lights event,
At the church.
Yeah.
And the memorial. I just thought another event like that would get your teenagers involved as well.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Lunn, are you happy with this?
Happy with it.
Yeah.
And your endorsement.
It was a really productive meeting with the retailers, and I think it's important that we get more retailers involved. We find a way to incorporate and include them within the day. I love the fact that we now have 3 areas designated for the various different age groups. However, it's something to appeal to all, and potentially families will then move between the areas and see everything. And with the food and music stalls that hopefully will be getting involved, that will encourage movement as well.
That's it.
I think we're onto a good event.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about in June, July last year. It's exactly the sort of thing we want to be re-engaging, funding, supporting.
Yeah.
And seed funding. I mean, this is the sort of thing that we then it's down to the weather gods and stuff like that. But I think this is exactly what we were looking for. Well done, good work, very good work.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, isn't it, that new council came in with lots of new ideas last May, and we presented a lot of things to the events team in principle, and I think this is just a demonstration of ways that it's all come together and has worked very well. Councillor Pemberton.
I don't know if you're happy, but I'm quite happy to don my town councillor badge and take myself through the Broadway and introduce and say what's going on, if I can get other interested companies there. So I will speak to you about any information I need, and I'll do a couple of trips.
Brilliant, thank you.
And I have a nice gold chain. I'm quite happy to.
Oh,
put
yes,
that
yes,
on.
you might stand out, yeah.
Actually, I won't have it anymore.
No.
Somebody else will have a nice gold chain.
Oh,
Chairman.
Sorry, councillor McCann.
Thank you. This is not meant as a criticism.
Oh.
It's not meant as a criticism because I'm the new guy to this lovely town. But most town councils seem to rely quite a lot on traditional forms of marketing, leafleting, putting brochures up and posters and things like that. We are in a digital age.
Oh, yes.
And I was wondering, and we're not certainly going to design it this evening, but I would be very interested to find out what the event's digital marketing strategy would be leading up to an event, because we now have more or less a diary of things we're doing. But almost as important in order to feed the following year is what's your post-event digital strategy. For example, this is why I said it wasn't a point of criticism on the Remembrance Day. It was a fantastic parade through the town, absolutely cracking. 2 or 3 pictures on the town council's Facebook page.
That was it.
And that was clearly a big event. And it's about not just saying we're going to do. The other flip of that is look what we've done, look what we've done, look what we've done. And I think that digital marketing strategy before and after the event, I think if we start looking at that now as a committee, we can start framing not just this year's, because it will boost for this year's event, but it reinforces and reinvigorates it for the following year.
Yeah.
It's not only a suggestion, Chair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, marketing and communication is something very close to my heart, certainly. 2 things I would say. One is that one of the roles that the council's recently provided funding for is focused on community engagement and marketing, and I certainly expect that role, as soon as it's up and running, to be looking at all these areas and how we're promoting events in the run-up and providing a record of them after they've taken place. The other thing I would argue is that the digital marketing strategy is important, but I think there are probably elements of the physical marketing to look at too.
Yes.
And one of the things I did ask for, and thankfully the council supported, was the plan to reduce the number of physical newsletters going through letterboxes. We've actually backtracked on that a little bit, and there'll be more of those, because I think there's a large element of the local population who only ever see something that lands through their letterbox.
Yeah, this is not instead of.
Yeah.
It's not instead of the traditional forms of communication.
As well.
It is an added value.
Absolutely agree, 100%. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
John.
I'd just like to say, I concur, we were lax in our post-event marketing for Remembrance Sunday. So we do a post-event press release for events. I will also say that Newbury Weekly News, our coverage has been really hit and miss. Hina isn't here today, but she was unwell for a period. And unfortunately, as a result, our coverage wasn't as good. I mean, some events, Newbury was getting pages and pages and pages, and we weren't. No, I would say that some of our events were equally, if not more, colourful in terms of what was happening. So that was something Mel and myself noted, and we were intending to, without putting anyone in it, to talk to the editor and remind him about the number of people that reside in Thatcham and the amount of coverage that he gets from Thatcham residents. That's something on our books, because Newbury Weekly News is a big player in terms of getting coverage. We do have a social media strategy which we put into play. It's interesting because, for example, Kennett School, yes, we now do email bulletins out, So great, but some primary schools the same, some no. Can you please give us flyers? So it's and we're aware, and we have for each event. This is our strategy, and this is posters, flyers, or e-newsletters, or whatever. So it's all part of a marketing strategy we put into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. We are trying to reduce print. But at the same time, it was really interesting talking to the businesses who are saying, we want print, we want banners. We don't see enough in terms of events within Thatcham, even though, we do have a website and there is Facebook and so and so. Yeah, so it's a difficult one, I'd say, to balance, reduce print, but at the same time, that we need to ensure that our events are seen, and that residents and businesses see what's happening.
I think we can be sustainable without going too far the other way. And certainly using recyclable materials is important, but we need to get that message out by whatever way we want to consume it. And I really do believe that a lot of people, you can drape a vast banner the whole length of the Broadway, and people will come up and say, "Oh, I didn't know." We do have to get the message out in lots of different ways, definitely.
Yeah. Without naming any particular one, I haven't noticed political parties reducing their print, the quantity of print that they put out, and therefore perhaps we should be mindful of that.
Sorry, JJ, I see your hand.
There was a keen interest from a lot of the retailers to provide advertising in such a means that it would provide them business on the day. So, for example, here is this leaflet of this event that's about to happen. If you bring it with you on the day, then you will get
10% off or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
lots of levers, lots of ways of doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, if we can get all those partners involved in promoting these events, making it worthwhile for them, giving them something that they can, feed back into their own businesses. Absolutely behind that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the long section 6. We had a proposal for the first part. Are there any other items, John, that need proposals? You said, for example, that the Kids Fest would go ahead with the agreement of this group. Do we need to formally approve anything, or are we happy running with the current plans as John's been outlining them?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we've got penciled in is closing the high street. As part of Kids Fest. The cost is £650, and we believe, to be honest, we can cover that cost with the storeholders along the high street. So that would be, whether members approve that, I'd be grateful for on that particular facet of that event, and also they seem, like the way the event's going and happy to carry on, really.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
For safety and with children, I would very much prefer the road to be closed, so you've not got to have to worry about traffic.
Yes, I mean, it feels as if the benefits vastly outweigh the cost in this particular matter.
There was a discussion about having some kind of crossing control between the children, the young children's play area sponsored by Howdens and Broadway, for safety purposes as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if that needs to be extended into Broadway, into the high street, as the Broadway will be open.
Yeah.
In that place.
So we've got the Moors Road and we've got the Broadway. High Street would be closed. Broadway open on both sides? Or?
No, the Broadway Green, not for the Kids Fest, just Broadway Green and the parking section in the middle where the cars are parked.
So you've got potentially then you've got the two areas either side of the toilets. And the Moors Road, where we'd have to monitor those areas closely.
I think it was to do just with ensuring that we've got stewards with high vis that can just to say, here's the zebra crossing, here's,
Yeah.
you know, and this is a safe place to cross. And also just giving, you know, with information saying, there's more happening down here and there's more happening. But that bend is very tight as well between the Broadway and the High Street. Even if the High Street's closed, you know, you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
The Moors is much more important because it's not a regular crossing point.
Yeah,
Whereas you have established crossing in the Broadway, traffic inevitably has to go slower because of the nature of the road.
Yeah.
And it's, there are established crossing points that we should properly sign permanently.
Yeah, you're correct. There's no crossing point, is there?
No.
No.
There is
No
there is
pedestrian.
right
Round,
to the
round,
junction with the
round,
lights, but it's still,
roundabout.
that's a big, actually, it's not a detour because that's the only entrance is from Bath Road, isn't it? Into the turn. So it's quite a question of signage to encourage, to ensure that people do go to the traffic lights rather than trying to cross straight across.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
You might want a marshal to remind them that the traffic lights are for pedestrians as well as for cars.
Yeah, all very valid points, Petra.
We could cost a couple of lollipop and all.
That was talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hire lots?
God, no, I've never looked into it.
Yeah, it's I think there's an issue about insurance and permission to do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
A whole different level of training required.
Lollipop
I know it sounds silly, but
Oh, yeah.
that is.
I have very many lollipop.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Is there an envisagement of where people would be expected to move? Do we see that they will go along the A4 to the Broadway, or are we imagining that they will go down
Through the Waitrose car park.
Waitrose car park?
Yeah, that's a common one.
Can be.
Yeah, because that's a car park, of course, yeah.
So are we still talking about the 29th of,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
that knocks off a whole lump of the car parks, doesn't it?
Knocks off what, sorry?
no, it's just
To walk through.
walk through.
Just where.
Just talking about the pedestrian route, where it would go.
What you saw, my brain was going, where are all these people going to park?
No, they're going
coming.
to walk from the
Gotcha.
playground.
Okay,
It's always diabolical.
Yeah.
parking.
further thought needed
Yeah.
in terms of a safe signage and stewards in terms of encouraging the crossing. So that's what we'll have a look at. I think
So if I-
more thought is required.
If I can summarise that as a proposal, then that we support the events team's proposal with regard to Kids Fest, to the closing of the High Street funding, subject to funding, and that further thought be given to the safest places for pedestrians to cross.
That's, in other words, go away, deal with it.
All those in favour? Great.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you. So we can move on. I know you've got all these things under control, but.
Thank you. No, that's good.
Okay, so item 7, Remembrance Day, which for the mayor, incidentally, is the most terrifying day in Canada. Because there are of the 700 parade participants, there are 699 who clearly know what they're doing, and one who doesn't know what he's doing, and he's leading the parade.
Follow you.
That's right, and they're all following you. But that aside, I thought it was an excellent event, and I think we've really got that down to a fine art, that one. Certainly the money we spend on closing the road, I think, is very well spent.
Absolutely.
It would be horrendous without it. I don't know if anybody, yes, councillor Stevenson.
Sorry, can I put on my RBL hat at this moment?
They're gone.
And councillor Mike Cole did put out a message before to fellow councillors that it is a parade. And that what that actually meant, and I don't think I thought everybody had understood that, but I understand that not everybody had, that one does not actually speak on a parade. So when the councillors leave the Waitrose car park to march or walk to the memorial, they should not actually be having a chat about the weather or anything else. Can we just bring it to their attention, my fellow councillors, that it is a parade? I sound a bit, you know, they say that old bat. I'm just.
It's headmistress-like, shall we say?
But I'm also ex-service, so I know you do not speak on a parade, and some councillors did not understand that. Okay, thank you.
But they were English, weren't they?
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Yeah, thank you. Point well made. The only slight hiccup that I seen this time round was the people at the front didn't quite know what was happening behind them because they couldn't really see, and the events lady was running backwards and forwards trying to say, okay, catch up, slow down, shout, hurry up. So it would help if someone who was coordinating was up near the front to help guide the mayor and the front 3 or 4 people to say, okay, slow down, you're getting too far ahead. Because that was said about 3 or 4 times.
It is a difficult one. We have that every year to some extent. Obviously, we have our parade marshal, but he has the whole length of the
So
parade.
you need somebody at the front who's looking back.
Emily was controlling, was trying to control the front part and telling us to speed up and slow down. But yes, it's yeah, Councillor Boyd.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you for that point.
It's not
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah, I would just say that every year there is a different flag bearer who may not be familiar with this, and they generally go off at a bit of a pace because they're not
Excited
familiar.
as well.
But
Yes.
Andy, who is the controller of the thing, he will voice up. You know,
You did shout with Sergeant Major's voice, "Oh, slow down at the front now, lads." Fair enough.
I mean, interestingly, there is a rehearsal the weekend before, but it all takes place on the parade ground. And the bit that we don't rehearse is the parade from our park to the parade ground. And I think that's where the biggest issues often occur. And it does vary from one year to the next.
It didn't spoil it in the slightest. It was still a lovely event.
Sorry, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to actually now echo what Councillor Boyd just said, because it is the parade marshal's duty, and he knows he's going to be scurrying up and down because he does it every year to rein in the people at the front usually. I didn't think it was so bad this year, to be honest, and the whole parade hinges around one person, and that is the man hitting the big drum. And this year, I didn't have to change step once because he managed, between the numbers that they play, the tunes, there is that gap where all you hear is him. And in previous years, I've had to change feet 6 times because he slows down. How the soldiers from Hermitage Barracks cope, I do not know. But this year he was good. So it all hinges on whether he can keep the pace between tunes.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it all coming down to that.
That's it. That's
Yes, he makes or breaks.
Yeah.
Just one final point. As someone who's done the cenotaph with the Queen's Colour Squadron in London, it actually did cast back some very nice memories of that parade. In fact, it's the best one I've seen in any of the local villages and towns and parishes I've been to. It was very, very well attended and supported by the community. It was actually fantastic to see.
Great support for it.
Yeah, very well. It really was very, very good.
Thank you. Yeah. And again, well done to John and Emily and the team for making it all work in the background. So I think that's all we need for item 7. Did you want to say anything about this year's arrangement, or is that no, it's distant at the moment?
Met up with the parade marshal and we've gone through lots of good feedback, which we will now include the point you made. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Commonwealth Flag raising, yeah, that's in my diary. I think the Deputy Mayor will be taking part in that as well. There is quite a hilarious video online if anybody wants to see it of Jeff and I doing that one last year and nearly getting blown away.
That's why we put it on the agenda, Chairman.
What time is it?
Oh, yes, good point. Did I put the time
Doesn't
down?
make a difference.
Yeah, I'll try and get there at the right time.
March, is it March?
11th March, 11, is it 11 o'clock?
Apologies in advance.
Yeah, me, I'm
It's
working.
Monday. Of course it is.
I've got 9 o'clock. Is it that early in the day? I don't know.
9 o'clock. I'm in Reading any.
No, because we have schools attending. I think it's more.
We have had in the past, there weren't any schools last year. I think maybe we've stopped doing that now.
Yeah.
It was just Jeff and me and a couple of officers.
Not down the pub after.
Yes. Well, we needed it after the trauma of, being blown away on the end of a flag. No, it's an important event and glad we support it. Family Fun Day.
Yeah, members, just to say, Chairman, just to say that planning is going according to plan. We did a very early save the date expression of interest. We've had an exceptional number of store holders already. We're well past 110, and it's beginning of February that have shown an interest. So that's going really, really well. The question we'd like to pose, we'd ask to members, in 2022, we asked members whether we should be perhaps putting a small bar in to sell alcohol. And members decided that Family Fun Day, it wasn't suited to that type of occasion. However, we have been, Delphic Brewery over the last few years as a store holder have applied for their own license and sold beers and sampled beers on site. We've continued that within Festoff, where we had GG Gins and a bespoke cider, I believe, and then Christmas Light Switch on the same, along where the Cook and Butcher was. We had Delphic Brewery and GG Gins. What we'd like to propose is a very carefully curated number of store holders that sell craft type of beer. So it's not a bar. It's a few beers, local. So GG Gin, the cider company, I think a Compass, and next to their store, they'd have an actual Apple machine that shows how the cider is pressed and so forth. So maximum will probably be 3 or 4. And we don't think that would create any kind of issues in terms of suddenly turning Family Fun Day into a
Booze fest.
Just in support of that, I mean, I remember the discussion about this in 2022 when we said we wouldn't kind of go ahead with that. But I think the evidence over the last year with the Festoff and so on, and having those stalls down the high street, personally, I don't think it's caused any issues at all. And I think done on a well-managed and fairly small scale at the Fun Day, I'm tended to support that. That's for Shiva.
Just think, is the rugby club not open? With the bar, I just try to remember because I've been to 2 events there last year. One being the Cold Ash one, and then the other one. So you're nodding, so I'm guessing it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, would there not be any? I'm just thinking, would there be any backlash from them?
It's our event.
Yeah, sure.
They don't, and we don't promote it, but they seem to be happy that people come in to use the bar. And,
So the rugby club is presumably on sales only, therefore it keeps the consumption of alcohol away from the general event, which is good. I I don't think they have any, they shouldn't have any expectation of any rights beyond the clubhouse. So I don't think they're just, I don't think they will have, but I don't think that ought to be a consideration. And I have no problem with the proposal that you're putting forward. You're saying that they would be selling for off sales as well as so on effectively selling for consumption as well as off sales.
Yes.
But I think well placed, obviously, well placed away from the youth groups, presumably. But yes,
Yeah, well, the one thing we're not short of at the fun day is space.
No, I'm sorry to take on your serious point. Yes, the idea would be we'd probably put a couple by the main stage where the music is.
Yeah.
Not by the kiddies areas, for example.
Yes, may I ask, does the council make sure that you view their temporary event notices, licenses?
They
On the licensing committee?
yes, they should show us evidence that they've got the license.
Apply for the 10.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Can we make sure we see them?
yes.
Councillor McCann.
Yeah, my knowledge of Thatcham's Fun Day was purely last year. But Woodley has a fun day as well, and it's been going since the early 60s, I believe. They introduced a beer tent to what was an all-day event and an all-evening event, and it turned into just one big booth up. So they decided to chop it. So they did a morning event sort of thing. So the tent opened at like 1 o'clock or something, and shut at 4. To break it up. So the point I'm trying to bring to attention is let's not make it an all-day drinking event thing. So because it changes the dynamics of it.
I agree.
3-4 hours, that's perfectly reasonable. And the other tactic, of course, is you just bump up the price and get rid of the idiots.
Yeah, I reckon.
You know, it's because it's a family day. But instead of just talking about craft beers, can I suggest there also be some craft wines? Otherwise, my wife is going to be extremely disappointed. There must be a local vineyard somewhere. We'd invite some of them. Is there any local vineyards in Bath? I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah.
Must be some, isn't there?
Councillor Hart, then Councillor Miller.
I'm actually good.
You're good. Councillor.
The only point I was going to make to that was that would that then affect how popular the event would be with the stallholders if they felt that they could only sell their craft beers, etc., from like 1 to 4?
I know, I'm just throwing it out there. No, I'm just throwing it out there.
This is a beer tent, 1 till 4.
If we're talking about limiting the amount of time that the stallholders are able to sell their.
I thought it was to do.
Yeah.
That's a beer.
Can I just, they can still sell their unopened cans
But not
for the time, but just a time limit for the actual
Drinking on site.
drinking on site.
I think my point was about, it's a great road to go down, do what you're doing, see, I can see what you're picturing, do that, but just be conscious, beyond that, it slips quite.
I think it's, I think it's a really good suggestion to put in, and we can put it in early as part of our on-site. You know, the event starts at 11, so possibly 12:30, something like that. I don't know. I like the because as Councillor Pemberton said, it's I mean, people can buy cans that they're given in these packs, which they take home, or bottles without bottle openers, you know, so, yeah.
Which I did last year, I bought quite a few to take home.
So are we talking about a time constraint for the time that people drink on site?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Especially if we're just tiptoeing into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a trial run sort of thing, that's only, you know, it's.
12:30, 1 o'clock?
Hey, whatever you guys decide is.
Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't it need to be over lunch hour that people can drink?
Yeah, I'd say.
yeah, I mean, maybe up until about 2 o'clock, and then just so that you haven't got haven't got people really extending their lunch break into 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, would 2 o'clock?
I think that it's best probably leave it to officers to work out a practical arrangement.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
helpful to the officers at least. And then,
Thank you.
so we're happy to go with this proposal to carefully allow other local craft operators to operate under the same guidelines. But time constrained and the timing to be considered by the officers.
Yeah, thank you.
Your town council to inspect the tenants, please.
Yes,
Noted. Wrote it down, councillor.
That's
Can I just ask about the dog show
yeah.
that was cancelled last year and has kind of been put on the back burner? Too hot, that one
No, I'm
year?
saying it was too hot.
Yeah, that one year.
It's a one-off. It was,
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, there was talk about another dog show at a different time in the year in a different event. I think that's been postponed for this year.
So, yeah, I mean, the question is, I mean, we do seem to be getting hotter summers and this is in the middle of summer. So it's, you know, obviously we can plan for it and then cancel it late on, but that nobody's very comfortable with doing that. But sorry, John.
Okay, you go first.
as a member of the Hennick Worthy JMC, I am uncomfortable about having a dog show on a field which otherwise dogs are prohibited
Oh, yes.
Right.
because it's a sports field. So if an alternative could be found, I think that would be preferable.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think the dog show has always been very popular, a popular event, and I don't think we should cancel it. But I think at the same time, anybody who is a dog owner and the event gets cancelled late on because the weather is extreme would have no problem with that because they're dog lovers. So they would see themselves that they perhaps wouldn't like to be taking their dogs out in the blazing sun all day.
Okay.
So members might recall, we suggested at the previous events committee, can't remember exactly when, that we would look at taking the dog show outside of Family Fun Day because of the weather issue. But we would like, thank you councillor Lund for bringing it back to the attention, we would like to continue to try and run the dog show within Family Fun Day for the reasons that councillor Boyd has put on, but to be very mindful of, if the weather, we have a whole 3-4 weeks where we could determine if the weather forecast is going to hit those 39 degrees centigrade, and we have a guidance from the RSPC in terms of what that temperature is, which escapes me, but we can predict that. So that would be what we'd like to do, is bring it back in and allow Picture It Friend to get their full value of sponsorship from, which unfortunately they weren't able to. But that's not, the reason is we think it is, as Councillor Boyd has said, a very successful feature. We do, the dogger, it is the one day where dog owners are allowed onto Hennick. But there hasn't been issues in the past with dog owners on site. We don't, they seem to be very respectful, the dog owners, with the whole of the other ambience in terms of what's happening. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to respond to that. I'm more worried about the example it sets for dog owners for the rest of the year, because there is a problem with dog owners using the field throughout the year.
I mean, I was just going to add to that as we're talking about a family fun day, I would say a good proportion of families have a dog, and that dog is considered to be part of the family and part of the fun.
I think that is the issue. I think we do lose people when we cut out the dogs.
yeah, I think we raised the subject a couple of meetings ago where we did chat about the idea of having some sort of marquee, some sort of shelter, some screening of some sort in and around the event, so rather than people were huddling under trees and shade. So that was probably something to think about nearer the day, especially for the event. But I think the point Jay is making is perfectly valid. If it's cancelled, then where do we, if it's cancelled again, then that we actually pre-book something now, and it would seem logical to throw it into like the festival week.
There was also discussion about a contact that I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, who was looking into running a kind of separate little event with local traders from the pet sector and some dog activities going on there. That hasn't progressed very far, I don't think, but also the memorial hall, the event, one of the events they run in the spring or autumn, they have a dog show running there, obviously out of the peak season when we're running the Family Fun Day. So, you know, there are other dog shows running into town at other times. But yeah, it's whether or not, I guess, we just take the risk, try it again in June when it could be hot, or and
on weather.
yeah. And then if it is looking quite warm, if we can find some other kind of shelter or protection, in case it's sort of borderline and we want to go ahead with that.
The same would happen if it peed down the rain all day.
Yeah, just don't know in this country. Okay, is there any more on Sunday? So just last item is warm me up for Christmas. Yes, receiving your report, I think.
Okay, so just to sort of let members know that we're planning on December the 1st as it took place on December the 1st. We're looking at the first Friday in December, which is the 6th.
Okay, yeah.
But based on the fact that the Saturday Christmas market, which we did at quite short notice, was successful. We had 11 traders, mixture of gifts and street food, plus Cold Ash Brass Band and the Baptist Church Choir. So members requested for us to look at putting on a weekend, and we're now looking to put on a whole weekend around that period, and also embrace the Rotary Santa Fun Run for promotional reasons rather than and helping them in terms of the promotion of it. So that's the plan. Plans are in place. We've already started to go out to traders in terms of this is what we're planning to do. What we'd like to do again on the Friday, similar to Kids Fest, is close the high street for the Friday evening.
Okay.
So that would be the new activity we'd like to do, and to put stalls down. So both sides of the Broadway and the high street closed. That would allow us to bring in more commercial stalls for the Friday. And we feel we might be able to spin off with that and then add that to the Saturday as well. So it gives us a lot more opportunity. It brings in the high street as well, and spreads the opportunities in terms of residents that there is something else to do. At the moment, the stalls on the Broadway the offer is there for community and charity stalls. So they get precedence, so it'll allow us to bring in a more commercial store opportunity.
I'd just like to add on to that with regards to being a retail owner on the high street. Up until now, I would say that probably the public would leave the road to be closed anyway. You get a lot of people wandering down the road anyway, so for safety purposes, having the road closed would be good. But also, I have previously stayed open late in the evenings for the Christmas lights switch on, and the only way I've managed to draw trade around to me is to have specific items for sale. Otherwise, people would not come into the high street. So to have the high street closed and to have an actually things actually going on there would benefit the restaurants and everybody on the high street, as well as the Broadway. So I think it's a fantastic idea to do that.
Just one final point. There is, in order to bring some more commercial people in, the traditional Christmas market sort of stalls where it's actually more of a robust shed, shall we call it?
Yeah, the wooden sheds.
You can get them quite reasonably, but you have to sort of pre-book them early February. If you want 2 or 3 of them, they may be 400 quid for a week or something like that, and they come and pick them up and drop them down. But it may be something you may have to look at now if you want to put something like that in place, because they literally are booked up almost like a year ahead. If you're looking to get like 3 or 4, it's basically so people can lock up their stock at night, so people won't nick it. They have to spend an hour unpacking and unpacking and all that kind of
There's a
stuff.
real advantage to that, I guess, if we're running it over a couple of days.
Yeah.
Maybe not if it's just for the one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that would be good, something to aspire to, like
Winchester.
Winchester Cathedral and other places. Okay, any more comments on that one? Sounds as if it's going in the right direction, Sophie.
I've got to bring a note of amusement to this meeting. It's the first time I'd ever stood by one of our lamps and been allowed to flick the switch.
Oh, yes.
I was very proud of myself. Flick a switch at the right time, even though they were late.
Isabella did that.
Who was that? Who was that?
The mayor lighting up.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry, but I've been told 20 minutes before. Never mind. The other thing I did for a first was traffic control, where we were closed, which was down opposite the funeral.
Oh, yeah.
So I was down there and I joined Mike Cole and another chap. In time to hear the story that Mike Cole had been told by an extremely irate driver that he needed to get his fish and chips from where he wanted to get them. And he was absolutely furious that the road was closed, and he was going to report Mike Cole to the town council because he knew the mayor, John Boyd.
Did you get it? Did you let him through?
No, we did not.
There was
That's why my fish and chips never got home.
there was a subject raised at the last maybe it's 2 meetings ago, where there was a discussion about Christmas lights renewal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's in here, it's in the report.
there is a bit in the report. We're not, I assume we're not going to make a decision this evening, but are we going to get a report back to say what the costs are and things like that?
Where are we?
For next year.
It says the new design should be available before end February.
There we go. Thank you.
There we
I
go.
wasn't worrying about the design, I was worrying about the costs. I'm sure it'll be Christmassy.
Yeah, but I take it the design will incorporate how much they're going to cost.
We've pushed it out to 2 companies, so we shall get their costs and designs before the end of this month.
Oh.
So more than happy that before we make a decision on which ones, that we share what the costs are.
And what happens to the old lights? Where do they go?
Well, I'm hoping one of them or both companies may even put a proposal in that we still continue to use some of them. I don't think we're necessarily saying goodbye to them all. I mean, currently we still have in stock in our workshop the Christmas decorations from 2018.
Oh, why aren't we using them?
Because it was decided that, I think they've been in place for about 10, 15 years. It was decided that they weren't, they were old hat.
Okay.
But we still have them because you never know, sometimes old hats become fashionable again.
Fascinating.
I think they're more likely.
Just thought I'd ask the question.
Thank you. Is there any more points on that one? If not, then thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That means close.
Thank you.
5 hours. Yeah.